Welcome to MSP Voice, the weekly show for MSPs by MSPs. Brought to you by MSP 360, the #1 cross-platform cloud backup. Learn more at msp360.com. This is MSP Voice. Hello and welcome to MSP Voice. This is episode number 62. Today's guest is Matt Lewis. He's with a CMIT location in Northeast Cincinnati. So have a really good conversation with him. We kind of talk a little bit about the franchise model of CMIT and also about his experiences in working for CMIT in Northeast Cincinnati. Before we get to that, though, got a couple of things to cover. Of course, mspvoice.com is your source for all things MSP Voice. Should have an announcement about a webinar coming up here soon. So keep an eye on that on the site, and you'll be able to go there and get registered for it. That'll be in early October is when the actual webinar is. So good things coming there, but also all the past episodes. And of course, you click on Be the Next Guest, and you fill out the form, and you too could be my guest here on MSP Voice. A couple of news items this week. So first off, I saw this and I was very happy to see it. So ConnectWise, they're kind of leading the charge in this new threat intelligence organization. It's called a TSPISAO. I'll get to that in a minute. But it's basically to boost MSP industry cybersecurity. So it's not just ConnectWise. It's basically all the vendors kind of coming together to try to tackle this problem, whether they compete or not. So it's an information sharing and analysis organization, ISAO. So apparently, in financial regulators, banks, and those types of things, they've created these for their own industries. And I think this is maybe the first one specifically for the MSPs. But it really is to try to help us get together and combat this issue of ransomware and cybersecurity and all these different types of things. So I applaud this effort. Keep an eye on what's going on here with this organization, as I think it'll be good for us overall and everyone in general. Along that same line, it was an interesting article here in Salon. It just popped up on one of my Google alerts, but it basically has to do with how insurance companies are fueling a rise in ransomware attacks. It's a long article. If you read it, the gist of it is the fact that if you buy cybersecurity insurance from an insurance provider, and then you or your customer, whoever gets hit with ransomware, a lot of times the insurance companies are just saying, just we'll pay the ransom. They talk about the city in Florida that paid over $460,000 ransom. The city actually only had to pay a $10,000 deductible, and the insurance company paid the rest. So what this article talks about then is the fact that because the insurance company, they look at it from hey, we've got to cover this company. The ransom is X amount of dollars, and trying to recover from backup and all the techs involved in loss of business is going to be more than X. So let's just pay the ransom and get everyone moving along and happy. Well, what they're saying is because of that happening, guess what? Now these bad actors are actually targeting people that they know to have ransomware or cybersecurity protection because they know the insurance companies will pay. And they're also seeing an increase in terms of the payment amounts or the amount of ransom that's requested, and have even seen an uptick in ransomware attacks that they say might be related to this. So it's an interesting kind of catch-22. Is you have cybersecurity insurance to protect you against a ransomware. It's not going to protect you, but if you do get hit, they can help you pay the ransom or help you get back in business. And if it's less to pay the ransom, then guess what? They're going to pay the ransom. So really interesting take on this. So would love to hear your comments and thoughts on that. And then finally, this is one of those little annoying things that's been cropping up here for the last week. I just keep seeing alerts about it. Is the Google Calendar spam issue. Essentially, a bad actor can send you an event, and even if it goes into your spam folder, it's still going to create an entry in your Google Calendar. Now, obviously, this is only if you use Gmail or G Suite. If you're not using that, it doesn't matter, but I know a lot of your customers, even personally, they might be using Gmail and those types of things, and all of a sudden they have this event pop up on their calendar. They get a reminder for it. They're like, what is this? I didn't do it. They click the link, and guess what? Boom, now they're infected. So it's another attack vector. Apparently, Google is working to remedy the situation. So this is Android Central. They talk about it in terms of, if you get one, don't worry. You can just delete it. Don't click the link, and you're fine. It's annoying, yes. And they also go into, how can you report it if you do get one. So anyway, Google's aware of it. They're working diligently to resolve the issue, and they'll post updates, as soon as they have them. So if you're getting questions about this Google email hack calendar thing, Google's on it. So I just wanted to get that out there. And with that, let's go ahead and turn it over to our interview. And I'm not sure if there will be an episode next week. I am on holiday, so there's a chance there will not be an episode next week, but hope to be back the week after that. But anyways, have a great week, and talk to you soon. Hello and welcome to MSP Voice. Today I am pleased to be joined by Matt Lewis of CMIT in, I guess, Southern Ohio, Northern Cincinnati.
Yeah, Northeast Cincinnati.
Northeast Cincinnati, great. Matt, welcome to the podcast. Tell us a little bit about
being
yourself.
Here. So I'm 29 years old. I've been in IT pretty much my whole entire life, even while I was younger. It's a kind of a family trait, I guess.
Okay.
Brother, father, everybody does it. It's kind of in our blood. Ever since I was little, I like tinkering with things.
Okay. I meant to ask before we started the recording, but Roger Lewis, any relation?
No.
Okay.
Not that I know of.
Because he's the CEO of CMIT. So I saw that and I'm like, oh, maybe it's a family thing.
Nope. Coincidental.
Okay, got it. So CMIT is a franchise type model, correct?
Yep, it's a franchise type model. The way that it works is you establish in an area code or zip code, and from there you can branch out to other. As long as they're touching each other, you can acquire another zip code. Okay,
and then in terms of how you got started in this, you said you've been in IT for a long time. What about MSP? How did you get started there?
I'm actually the one of the technicians for the president of the company, but I've kind of my first, like we were talking before, my first job when I was in college and right out of college was working for an MSP. So it's kind of a model that I enjoyed. I liked driving from place to place and not having to worry about just one specific company. You could go from one company to another company, and you got more. I felt like you got more out of it than just working in one single environment. You got pushed into you could get Macs, Linux, things like that, rather than if you worked for an environment that was only Mac, you would only have exposure to Mac. So I feel like it's a good starting point for anybody getting into IT to get their feet wet.
Okay. So yeah, that you said you're a technician.
Yeah.
Okay. At CMIT. So
okay.
For the Northeast Cincinnati area.
Yep. That's correct. Yep.
Got it. Just like to make sure. And I think you mentioned you went to school. Did you major in like computer science or MIS or something like that?
Yeah, I computer science and a minor in networking.
Okay.
So that's my background. I don't really use the networking a lot. Although I do have some certifications with networking. I have my CompTIA network security and Net Plus. So
okay. And then in terms of where you're at, do you guys do much break fix, or is it all MSP contract?
We do have some people who contact us for a one-time thing where it's hey, this is not working, can you come and take a look at it, and we will. But most of our customers are contracts.
Okay. And then what's your day like in terms of working with the different customers?
So typically I'll start off and I'll make sure that I'm checking the backups, making sure that nothing's down. Obviously if something's down, we usually get a call day or night, so it's but I'm just making sure everything's good. And then probably about 8 o'clock Eastern time is when the calls start coming in. Help desk tickets. We do utilize the help desks here, so they'll generally
Okay.
call them first. But if the help desk can't solve it, then they'll escalate it to us.
Gotcha. So you're up a level
Yeah. Right.
from
Yeah. Yeah.
from the general help desk. Now, do you still have to go on site sometimes as well?
Oh yeah. I would say my job's probably 75% on site. Just
Okay.
because I think it's good, because you're getting face-to-face time with the customer. You're not just a voice on the phone or an email ticket. And I feel like a lot of customers, at least in my experience, don't like that, because then they feel like they're just getting ignored.
Yeah. No, I agree. Face-to-face communication and interaction is always great, and especially for MSPs, if you do everything remotely and they never see you and they never have any problems, then they're like, "What? Why am I paying you?"
Exactly. It's like, yeah. If you're never there and they never have any problems, you're always fixing things behind the scenes,
Hmm.
and they're gonna start to wonder, like, why are you even here?
Yeah.
So.
So, do you guys like specialize in any particular verticals in terms of customers you work with?
I would say most of our we customers are probably manufacturing.
Hmm.
We do have a lot of, it's a wide variety, but some of the bigger ones are manufacturing.
Okay. And it being part of a franchise, I'm assuming you guys probably have standardized tools and software that you use across everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. We use a few programs that everybody has access to. Some decide that they don't want to use it. Some
Okay.
do. Like, we have access to a help desk that we can use, but some
Mhm.
franchises are so big that they have their own.
Okay.
So it just depends, franchise to franchise.
Yeah. So you don't have to, but I
Yeah.
think
Right.
probably part of the franchise model. What's nice is you get group buying power.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. As you explained before, it helps us with, Dell or some other big companies. We can say, oh yeah, we're this giant company, so we can do this, this, and this, rather than having to go out to the third party vendors or something like that.
Yeah. Great. And in terms of advertising and getting new business, you know, do you help with that? Or is that something you're privy to in terms of what you
So
guys do there?
that's another good thing with the franchise model, is they
Hmm.
have they'll send out like weekly things through emails, and
Okay.
target zip codes, things like that. So it's I guess it's another good part of the business model of being a franchise, is you have access to those resources.
Yeah, definitely. Because a lot of times, when I'm talking to MSPs and they're just one person or maybe two, and they have a small team, and it's always like sales and marketing are always some of the
Yeah,
difficulties
exactly.
that they have. So it's definitely good to have somebody else backing you up, and I'm sure you can call on other franchises as well
Oh
as
yeah.
especially if you have working with a customer that maybe has an office in another city, you can call the franchise in that city and have them work with it. So
Yeah, but that's another good thing, is if we have somebody who's in a different city, or uh, somebody picks up a big client and they have an office here and they need somebody, they'll call us to go down. The other thing is we can collaborate with over 800 techs across the country, and
yeah.
so if we experience an issue with a customer who uses a program that maybe 1% of the population of all businesses use, um, we might have somebody who says, "Oh yeah, I've used that program. This is what you do." So
Yeah.
it's definitely got its benefits.
Okay. And then, I guess kind of building on that, are you active in any of online communities like on Reddit or Discord or any of those types of things?
Oh yeah, I'm part of the sysadmin Reddit and Discord that I go through, and I talk to people, ask questions. Reddit and Discord are pretty good resources for asking people questions, things like that,
Hmm.
finding out weird things, learning new things, things like that. I'll also watch YouTube videos of uh, podcasts, things like that. So
Podcast, yeah.
yeah.
um, what about conferences? Do you get to get sent out on the road sometimes? And
So they have. This is my first year with the company, but
okay.
they do have national conferences for the whole CMIT.
Oh, great.
So they all get together, and then they invite some of the vendors there that we work with. So it's pretty big. I'm not exactly sure where it's held every year, but I think it might be different.
Probably.
And then there's local conferences that I'll go to. Uh, things like for data drive things, all sorts of different things. It's nice to be in this area because, there's a lot of big things that come through the Southern Ohio area. So.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if you're familiar with ASCII, but Cincinnati is on their schedule for next year. So.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so I go to almost all the ASCII shows. So. So, in thinking about, what you do on a day-to-day basis, what part of your job do you love the most, in terms of MSP and those types of things?
I would say the thing that I love the most and what really keeps me, enjoying IT is helping people.
Okay.
It's always a good feeling because, a customer is never going to call you to say, oh yeah, you're doing a great job. They're always going to call you with a problem. That's why you're there. So it's always good to, when you finish their problem, they give you a good recommendation to your boss, or they, they're very happy with what you did, or, things like that. I think that's probably the main reason I'm still in IT.
Okay. What about the worst part?
The worst, I would say the worst part is trying to convince customers why they need an IT budget. Because a lot of customers they might have computers that are 7, 8, 9, even 10 or 11 years old, and they're like, "Well, it's still running. Why do I need a new one?" Well, because it's getting up there in age, and you can really benefit by having better performance. This is how much time you're wasting on things loading, things like that. So I would say
and Microsoft doesn't support XP anymore, right?
Exactly. Or XP or Windows 2000.
Yeah. Definitely, and I know I hear that from a lot of MSPs. Whether it's on the podcast here or even online, is convincing people that they need something.
Exactly.
And it runs a gamut, like you said, from hardware to software to upgrading of systems, and even security. That's become obviously a huge issue in terms of you've got to secure yourself. Ransomware is out there; it's everywhere. And convincing them to spend a little extra money to protect themselves is tough.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when a lot of these companies they go 10 years without buying anything IT related, and then all of a sudden they have to buy all this stuff because they're behind the times. They have to get security upgraded, things like that. Or what we found is a lot of customers have an event where there'd be a ransomware, or and then they realize, oh, hey, we actually need this.
Yeah, and by then it's too late.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing you can do, and you can pay it, but that might not have been being a guarantee. So.
Yeah, I talked last week in my intro on the podcast about, there was an article that, because Texas got hit, I don't know, 20 some odd towns in Texas got hit with ransomware.
23.
And they were talking about, hey, you can use this as an opportunity to sell security. Say, look what happened here. You don't want it to happen to you, which is good and bad. I mean, it's a little fear-based selling, but sometimes that's what it takes, especially with security.
Exactly. Because I mean, people think it's a scare tactic, but it's not, because these were little towns, right? These weren't Dallas. It wasn't Fort Worth. It wasn't, these were little towns.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's, if you can hit more little companies and little organizations versus trying to go after a big one, you can spend less resources, it's.
And that's why MSPs are such a big target themselves, because, hey, all I got to do is hit one, and guess what? They have access to all these other customers, and I can get them all.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Understanding your journey kind of in this MSP space, coming out of school and working for an MSP and now working for CMIT, what advice do you have for someone out there, in terms of getting started in this MSP world, so to speak?
I would say keep an open mind. There's a lot of people who I know that are in the IT business that they refuse to work with certain things. Like they won't work with Macs. They won't work with, certain products, certain firewalls. And you really have to keep an open mind, because you might be going into a customer's environment where they have that program that you're not using. And then you might, have one hand tied behind your back because you don't have any experience. So I would say look at everything, dabble in everything. You kind of have to be a jack of all trades in this kind of environment. Yeah.
And then, I don't want it to sound like an interview question, but, when you consider, your own career, do you have plans to eventually sometime open your own business? Is that your path, or?
I haven't really thought about it that much. I'm just kind of focusing on, the year-to-year plan, I haven't
Okay.
really figured out what my 5-year or 10-year plan is. But yeah, just kind of going year to year at this point.
There's nothing wrong with that. You're still young, so you can do that, and you've got a job. You're gainfully employed, so that's great.
Yeah.
Um, okay, from a technology perspective, right? This can be technology related to what you do for work or not, right? It can be any kind of technology, but what technologies are you excited about right now, whether it's now or coming in the near future?
I'm a fan of the cloud. I mean, I like the ability to have everything at my fingertips,
Mhm.
especially with I don't know if you're familiar with Google Stadia, but the whole
Yep.
gaming is now going to be in the cloud, and I think that's kind of neat because now you can do it on the go. You don't have to have one proprietary product. I think the cloud is really where everything is going to end up being. I think
Yeah.
that's where I want to focus a lot of my things, my uh, endeavors on.
Yep. I mean, obviously, I'm a big fan of the cloud here. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and you brought up Stadia, which is interesting. I'm not a gamer myself, so I mean, I know I've seen it. I've read some articles about it, but I'm not really all that excited about it. From a gaming perspective, to see how well it's going to work, understanding the graphic requirements that so many of these games have, and
Yeah.
are they going to be able to do that and deliver it via streaming?
Yeah, the looking at the speed requirements, I'll be interested to see how well it works because they're saying you can do 4K streaming at with 40 gigabyte connection or
Mhm.
40 megabyte connection, and I'd be interested to see how that works. Because I've had Netflix stream at 4K and at 100 meg connection, and
Yeah,
it's choppy. So,
yeah, and then
um,
lag time too, right? If
oh,
you
exactly. Yeah,
pull the trigger, how long does it take for it to actually register?
yeah. That's another thing I'd be interested to see how that works as well.
So yeah, well, it's interesting times in terms of that, and cloud and what Google's doing there. But in terms of technologies that you're worried about, what is there anything that keeps you up at night?
The growing threat of ransomware it's getting really crazy. I mean, it's a couple of years ago it was just one or two instances and they were able to patch it, but now it's whole entire teams of these hackers who are social engineering companies or sending out these emails, and it can hit anybody. It's not just the big companies that they're going after anymore. It's your small mom and pop shops,
Yep.
because those are the companies who are less likely to have a backup in place or a solution in place to prevent this or to recover from it. And those are the ones that are going to pay. They're going
Yep.
to pay these people. So I think that's probably my biggest scare tactic, and that's what worries me the most is having to wake up one morning and find that one of our bigger customers or any of our customers are ransomware.
Yeah. Or you get a call from one of them and they say, "Do you know how to get Bitcoin?"
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
crap.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Or I had one the other day who, he clicked on one of those links that were pop up, and they
Mhm.
were like, "Yeah, I called this company, and halfway through, I had this gut feeling it wasn't you guys." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah,
Wow. My mom fell victim to the Microsoft one a couple of years ago.
yeah."
Um,
That's kind of rampant as well.
yeah.
It's
But
crazy.
luckily I had her on a backup plan, so I was able to get her recovered and didn't have to pay anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But she was freaking out. Um, all right, so are you ready for the rapid fire round?
Sure.
This is pretty easy. Um, First thing that comes to your head. So first up, Apple or Android?
Android,
Okay, Mac, Linux, or Windows?
Windows,
Okay, Amazon, Azure, or something else?
Amazon,
Okay, local backups or cloud or both?
both.
Okay, should you always virtualize?
Yes.
Okay, and finally, which is worse, printer support or vendor cold calls?
Printer support.
Yeah, I'm sure you've had to deal with a lot of that, especially like you said, going on site and all that
Yeah.
fun stuff. So
I would say printers are probably the hardest part of IT to anybody. I mean,
yeah,
it's there's so many different companies, there's so many different models, and drivers are a nightmare. And
yep. Well, I had my guest, what was it, last week, he's like, vendor cold calls because, printer issue, you just go out and buy a new printer. They're so cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's also, but when you get into these bigger models, it's kind of, you can't really do that.
Yeah, or if you deal with specialized printers, like in manufacturing, they might have label
Yeah.
printers and those types of things. And it's like, oh, it's a serial connection? What's going on here?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Matt, before we end up, anything else you'd like to let our audience know about, any advice, tips, or tricks you have?
I would just tell everybody to stay vigilant, make sure, they're keeping their customers' security up to date, and, just make sure that you don't fall victim.
Yeah. Two-factor authentication all the way, right?
Yes. In fact, that's one of my projects for today. I got to get two-factor authentication going for most of our customers. So
Great. Definitely a good way to protect them. So Matt, thank you for being on. I really appreciate it. And I guess have a great. We're coming into the holiday weekend, so have a great weekend.
Yep. Thank you. It was a pleasure being on here.
All right. Have a great one.
Yep. You too.